Greetings and salutations. It is the incredibly creatively and appropriately how do I always say that, Derek? I'm really tired. The incredibly creatively and appropriately named now charitably award-winning Query and Schultz program.
Yeah, I'll give you a pass, man, because this has been quite the marathon for you this weekend.
A trivia question for you. Friend of the show, Greg Palou.
Yeah, sure.
We've known for a long time.
Greg, long time.
Greg's son, baseball star and rising broadcaster at Ben Davis High School. His first name is?
Owen.
That's right. And that's significant right now. Why?
You owe me money?
No. 0-3.
Okay, because you do owe me money.
How do I owe you money?
Halloween 2014, Batman and Robin costumes. You said you were good for it. Those cost $140 after shipping.
I don't know.
And then you dressed up like a clown.
Yeah, no, I got it.
I was Robin. You were supposed to be Batman. I even got the utility belt. That was an add-on at whatever it was, Halloween costume stores.
Saying.
I went to Lafayette Square Mall and then got it.
Lafayette Square
Halloween.
Is correct.
Well, sorry, I didn't mean to refer to it that way. And you still owe me from 7 years ago.
Okay, well, I'll get that to you.
Okay.
Colts are 0-3, and it was ugly, disappointing in Tennessee. Derek, you made a good point. It was one of those games, like so many we have seen when the Colts and Titans have squared off, where the Colts are kind of hanging around and nothing seemingly is going their way, and yet they're within range.
Yeah.
Was not.
It followed
the
script of so many Colts-Titans games in Nashville. The only thing that didn't happen was the Colts winning at the end. Because they've gone there a lot, especially in the 2010s on. So, like, I remember the Vic Ballard, remember, in overtime, or maybe that ended up being to force overtime.
An Elway type play,
right? Jumping into the end zone. I remember the big comeback with Andrew Luck when they were also 0-2 in Week 3 in 2015, and it kind of temporarily saved that season. They've had so many weird, fluky things happen to them in Nashville, but all of them have always gone in their favor. And you had 3 of them yesterday with the turnovers and everything like that and the general sloppiness by Tennessee, but they couldn't capitalize.
Let me tell you, from my standpoint, what jumped out at me. We're going to have 2 interesting viewpoints here on the Colts over the course of the weekend, because one of them, admittedly, is kind of like an outside observation, because I was in Long Beach for the IndyCar race, which means that, first off, the time difference is just weird.
Yeah, I hear you.
And then secondly, for when a lot of stuff was going on, I was working because we were at the racetrack. So I didn't have, like, the sitting down, analyzing it play-by-play viewpoint of it. So the outside observation, 2 things that jumped out at me. Number one, Jim Irsay hosting this party, or whatever it was in Nashville. Chris Hagan had, and I don't know if Hagan is the only one, but I want to give credit where due. Hagan is where I saw it. I don't know if this was a group interview.
There were other media there, but Hagan's was the one that went viral.
When Jim Irsay was asked about Carson Wentz and was saying, listen, we know that, he's a tough guy, and he's a good player, but we know he has to be reliable. And then he said, and the vaccination comes into play with that. It's difficult. And he did make a point to say they have freedom of choice, and I understand that. But it is difficult when they decide not to become vaccinated because you can't rely on it. I'm paraphrasing a little bit. I personally felt, and I've been around covering the Colts a long time, I thought that was Jim Irsay sending a message not just to Carson Wentz but also to Chris Ballard. Hey, listen, we got a guy that has not 1 but 2 bum ankles, and we're going to send him out there because we think he's a tough guy. But this is something that when you signed off on it, you knew this was a possibility, and now you throw in the curveball of the whole vaccination. And I know that that's a tired topic, but it's reality. Derek, to me, it is inexcusable when the owner of the team is saying that, and yet you still make it apparent that you don't trust anybody but your starting quarterback to take snaps. Inexcusable. They had to send a guy out there that was at best 70% because there is no one on the roster that they trust to take snaps in an NFL game. That's a problem.
Yeah, they made their bed, and now this is them lying in it.
Yeah.
So you put your eggs, a lot of eggs, not all of them, but certainly a big amount, in the Carson Wentz basket, and we knew that Carson Wentz was injury-prone.
And I like the skill set of Carson Wentz, don't get me wrong.
Me too. We knew that was possible, and then you still decide, look, I'm one of those people that looks at the backup quarterback spot as if you have to go there, you're kind of screwed anyway. But you saw it with Jacoby Brissett, right? Where Brissett, and we were really hard on him, especially me. I was hard on Jacoby Brissett as a starter. But the beauty of Brissett is that if you're in a pinch and you need one game, he could go out and competently do that, and the Colts don't have that guy.
Correct. I understand. I understand that, as I've said, your backup quarterback is your donut tire. You are expecting it to get you to the next exit or to the next tire shop, and that's it.
It's a great analogy. All your analogies usually suck, but that's a great one.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You can't use it to drive you on vacation, right? However, you still at least need a quarterback that, when called upon, that you can at least trust in a spot situation. Mm-hmm. The Colts clearly don't have it. Why is Jacob Eason on the roster? Let me ask you this.
Yeah,
Jacob Eason has had a year to develop, and yet they still have not seen enough in him to trust in him, to hand him the keys to be able to get you to the grocery store, and they elevate somebody off the practice squad that wasn't with the franchise 4 months ago. Why is Jacob Eason on the roster?
There are probably 30 to 35 guys.
If he's not ready, he's going to be ready to go in time. He's had an entire year to sit and wait. At what point do you finally take the plastic off?
Yeah, there are probably 30 to 35 guys. Maybe I'm being too conservative in that range. That can competently be an NFL caliber quarterback. So it's very hard to find backup. I will defend that. It is very hard to find backup quarterbacks. Nick Foles stinks. You know, like a lot of these other guys that were talked about as option. Brian Hoyer stinks. So I was not in favor of paying $6, $7, $8 million, whatever it was going to be, or trading assets for a second quarterback. But if you're not going to do that, you have to have somebody that, in a pinch, you can put out there and can be competent. And the Colts don't even have that.
Nick Foles might stink, but when Carson Wentz went down and Frank Reich needed a quarterback to get him to the Super Bowl, he was willing to roll with Nick Foles.
No, 100%. I mean,
they have a guy who is their backup quarterback, who is literally on the roster as the backup quarterback until the time comes where they need a backup quarterback. And then they elevate someone off the practice squad that they got at Meyer.
I hear you. Reflecting on that Foles run, it's one of the all-time great sports flukes, right?
Maybe it is.
But that said, your point is, you are correct, Jake. And I don't want to make it look like I'm making excuses for Ballard and Reich, because that's not what I'm interested in doing. It's year 5 for Ballard, it's year 4 for Reich, and I think that's going to be a continuing thing, especially if this season goes the way that it's currently going. You know, the trajectory is pointing like this. So if this season is a catastrophe, this is going to be an ongoing theme here. But just with the Colts' problems go really even beyond quarterback, right? Okay. That we can discuss.
Let's get to the next one. I remember, and I've used this analogy on our show before. I remember in high school, my dad saying to me, talking to me about going to college, where I wanted to go to college, and I did not have great grades. I was a slacker, and I said, Dad, don't you like when I get into college, like I'm gonna become very studious. And my dad said, Jake, you don't just you don't flip a switch like that. Habits are created. You don't just all of a sudden change habits overnight. And he was right. And I do think that offensive line play, you don't just say, look, we've done this before, so we're going to go ahead and miss camp, and then when the season starts, like, we're going to snap our fingers. Quentin Nelson's a hell of a talent, okay? But and Fisher is a high draft pick that's been very productive, but he's coming off injury. You don't just snap your finger and say, okay, now we're good to go. Ryan Kelly, Quentin Nelson, they put themselves in positions to miss critical practice time and timing. Now, Quentin Nelson is banged up. I get it. But, Derek, that offensive line is porous, and it has no continuity, partially because, yes, health is a part of it, but they put themselves in position to bypass
Nelson
camp
missed the whole camp. Ryan Kelly missed a bunch of camp.
Correct.
Eric Fisher missed the whole camp.
And on them, too, right?
Yeah, because guess what? This was a great tackle draft. And the Colts decided, yeah, you know what? We're going to draft Kwity Paye and Deo and wait for him. And, maybe those guys end up being great players. But that's another thing that I think we need to talk about is the roster construction. How long, Jake, have the Colts said at receiver, oh, well, we're good. We're going to roll with what they have. What? Yeah? Are you sure? I mean, hell, they're running a reverse to Ashton Doolin yesterday, for God's sake.
Let me ask you this, Derek.
Throw that play out.
Let me ask you this, and admittedly, I have said that I was bullish on the Colts. I thought they could win 12 games. They're 0-3, but they're 3 games against 3 really good teams in tough situations. I mean, they're 3 games that if you scattered them out, I don't know that you would have predicted the Colts to win any of those 3. But you get out to a slow start. So, in other words, I'm not sitting here saying the roof is caving in. But let me ask you this. Chris Ballard, handsome guy, right?
Yep.
Kind of a square jaw, good-looking guy. Nice demeanor about him. Has kind of a McConaughey, Texas-type drawl.
Yeah, the drawl, we've talked about that being endearing.
Usually wears a nice sweater, a V-neck sweater, or we see here a nice sport coat with a jacket.
Yeah.
5 o'clock shadow. Nice-looking guy. Good hair.
It's me in 15 years.
Okay. That actually looks kind of like me right there. But how much are we as people in general by human nature swayed by people's appearance and their presentation, their persona? How much does that convince us of things about them that may not be reality?
Oh, a ton. We're all human, so we all default to that.
Ryan Grigson was mocked on the regular because he had a sport coat that didn't really fit him. He had sunglasses that were a little outdated. He talked really fast and sweated a lot. And so
he was perceived as being a jerk, too.
He was perceived as being an ogre.
Yeah. And people really don't
like a meathead.
Yeah.
Right?
To this day.
I'm not saying that's what he is. I'm saying that's what he was perceived as.
100%.
Okay? His presentation. Ryan Grigson would be the first to tell you, I wasn't worried about my presentation. I was worried about doing my job. How much have people been snowed? And I'm not saying it as a fact. I'm asking the question. Have people been snowed into thinking that Chris Ballard is the next great sports executive because he looks the part?
Here's how I'll answer that question. Yes, there is a lot. Image has a lot to do with it, and narratives and things like that. And Ballard is very smart, and he's a savvy guy. And I think he understood what the narrative was and the image was around his predecessor. Correct. So I think he wanted to control that right away. And, hey, come into my draft room, and I'll show some of the media how get in good graces. Like, he's played the game the right way. But this is a results business. And the fascinating thing to me, Jake, is that Ryan Grigson is not as bad of an executive as people made him out to be. Ryan Grigson was not a good executive either, though. I don't care what the track record was of wins and losses. The Colts were beating up on the NFL's worst division. There was one of those years in 2014 where literally half of the division were the worst 2 teams in the league, in the Titans and Jaguars. They were terrible. And you also had Andrew Luck cover up a lot of flaws. So that was a bunch of 11-5 seasons when you were hovering around 500 against everybody else. So you were just beating up on a bad division.
If Ryan Grigson was a quarterback, he's Rick Meyer. Came out of the box and everybody's like, hey, like, look at this.
Yeah.
And within 2 or 3 years, it was like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's some truth to that. I guess my point is that you knew personnel-wise the Colts weren't where they needed to be during the Grigson era, yet the results were pretty good.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, 11-5, 11-5, 11-5 first 3 seasons, and they climb up the playoff ladder, make the playoffs, then win a playoff game, then go to the AFC Championship game. And here, you have a roster that has improved from 2017. Now, I had nowhere to go but up. I think the Colts' issue is, Jake, is that all of their best players are at positions that don't really matter. And the flaws are pass rush and dynamic playmaking offense. You know, no offense to Nyheim Hines. Nyheim Hines is a great player. I saw some tweets yesterday. Nyheim Hines is the Colts' best playmaker. Oh, God. If Nyheim Hines is your best playmaker, then you're in trouble. Because look around at some of the real, true, unbelievable playmakers that this league has, and you know, you don't want Nyheim Hines to be your best playmaker. That's an indictment of the rest of your offense.
I thought the thing about the Colts to me that has become frustrating is the areas that do work for them, they get away from. You know what I mean?
It was a little odd to have Carson Wentz throw 37 times yesterday.
Right.
And only have 16 combined carries for Taylor and Hines. A little bit odd.
Taylor, how many carries did Taylor have?
10. And Hines had 6, including the touchdown run.
I mean.
Yeah.
And
I
you're
agree
wanting
with you.
to keep the ball out of – I'm not saying
agree
that
with you.
Tennessee is the greatest show on turf, but when you know that Derrick Henry can just salt clock, and Tannehill now has some weapons, you want to keep the ball away from that, right?
Yeah. And the problem that they had, too, yesterday was that anytime there was any inkling of danger, Wentz had to hit the escape button. Boom. They wasted so many plays, Jake, because, normally Wentz is very mobile, right? And we saw it a little bit before he got hurt in the Rams game of him eluding pressure and extending plays.
Okay.
He wasn't able to do any of that yesterday.
Yesterday, by the way, I happened to be outside the Rams stadium in Southern California.
Sure.
And they were playing the Buccaneers.
Yeah. Impressive win, by the way.
Yeah, the Rams are good.
They're really good.
And there was a guy and this was in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
But we're driving, and Ryan Marine, who I do IndyCar radio with, says, I think in that liquor store there's a goat. And it was like the biggest goat I've ever seen. The thing was the size of a horse, but it was a goat.
Tom Brady in the
and he was wearing a little Tom Brady like shirt thing.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they actually had a live goat in there.
People get their photos and stuff. But this is in L.A.
Yeah. It's a little odd.
So the Rams fans, they were taking pictures with this goat. Now I hope that they didn't hurt the goat.
Was it sedated?
No, he was moving his head, and he seemed to be enjoying it.
Well, that doesn't mean he wasn't sedated. Goats can be very aggressive. That's the reason that I asked.
Yeah, he seemed to be enjoying it.
Because I got bit by a goat. Or bitten. I got bought. No, not bought.
When were you bitten by a goat?
Bited?
Weren't you at a petting zoo?
What's the past tense of you were bit? Bitten, right? Yes, bitten. That's right. We'll get that in post. 3, 2, 1. I was bitten by a goat.
Really?
Yeah.
A goat bit me.
I've been bitten by a lot of animals.
So I've noticed.
Yeah. Duck bit me.
What did?
A duck.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, the goat. Where was the goat that bit you?
The goat that bit me was in Bourbon, Indiana. Most of these injuries happened on Uncle Art's farm in Bourbon.
Yeah, that's right.
So we'd come out from Connecticut, and it was great to go to the farm because it was like, oh my God, like we didn't see like corn and cows and stuff. So we'd play wiffle ball back there. The problem is that they just kind of let the animals do whatever they wanted. And I always told Uncle Art, you should really have like pens or, one of those like shock things, like to protect yourself. And he didn't have any of that stuff. Like, he'd pet the animals and all of that.
Of course.
All the animals hated me for some reason as a kid. And I don't know why they
Probably
did.
because you were the only thing there that was their size, but they couldn't figure out what it was.
I mean, I throw pebbles at the sheep, but outside of that, like, I wasn't, like, messing with them. Yeah.
Okay.
And a sheep bit me. Forgot to mention. Add another one to the list. Yeah.
Okay. Did it hurt bad?
You joking about that? Because it drew blood.
Okay.
It drew blood.
Okay.
Colts not drawing blood yesterday against Tennessee. So, a lot of the tweets that I'm receiving, and Jake, I know this has kind of been a weird weekend for you because you were out of it with IndyCar and all of that. A lot of the tweets have been, will Frank Reich survive the season? And Reich. And look, I agree with – I've been a Frank Reich defender, right? I agree with a lot of the complaints about play calling and things like – there's a lot for them to clean up. But part of me is kind of like, guys – are you even going to mention Chris Ballard in this? Because, we have to hold everyone accountable
the roster,
for what's happening.
The roster clearly has some flaws. And, again, I understand what you're saying, Derek, in the fact of backup quarterback. If you're going to your backup quarterback and you have to go to that for a long time, your year's over with anyway, right? But you at least want somebody that when situations arise where you've got to have somebody take the wheel, and your two choices literally are somebody who is still like on training wheels and has been for a year, and then somebody else who is used to riding a 10-speed, and you need somebody to ride a dirt bike, but at least they know how to keep the bike balanced, so you just throw them out there.
I mean, and do we even know that with Brett Hundley?
Yeah,
he hasn't thrown a pass that mattered in 4 years.
But how does he move into the second? How does that happen?
I don't know. It's embarrassing, really, that Jacob Eason, who they insisted he was QB1 through camp, right? He can do this. We believe in him. Yeah. And then suddenly he becomes the third-string guy for a guy that didn't even have a job when camp opened. It's embarrassing. It really is. Like, look, I don't think – and you're right, it's still September. The season is technically salvaged. It's got to start next week. I mean, they have to beat Miami. That's not a great Dolphins team.
Oh,
and you have to – but you look at the rest of the schedule, Jake, and it is really hard to find a path to
get momentum.
9 wins.
Right.
With what they've got on there.
if they lose to Miami, I mean, no Tua, right?
Yeah, but it'll be Brissett.
If you lose to Jacoby Brissett and the Miami Dolphins,
ooh,
then your best course of action at that point is to say, you know what, if Carson Wentz takes some seats.
Yeah, you'd have to throw him on IR and get rid of the 75%.
Correct.
Because it would be malpractice to not do that. I firmly believe, even if this ends up being like a crazy, catastrophic, like 3-14 season, I don't think Reich and Bauer are going anywhere.
I would agree with
I think
that.
the extensions are part of that. So if that's still your mindset, that you're still going to be kept at least for 2022, then whenever this season is lost, the Colts need to immediately shift to 2022.
Have you ever tried to, if you know you have to yawn, like when you're at a dinner?
Like when you cover it and
yes. Have you ever
do
a closed mouth yawn? Have you ever
Yeah.
tried to do that? I've been doing a
feel
lot
bad.
of that right here, just so you know.
feel bad like you're in a meeting or something and you know that
Correct.
they're looking at you and you're like, God, I'm so tired. And
Do you know why you yawn?
no, nor do I really care, but you seemed interested in telling
Yawning is because of muscle fatigue, and so your muscles
Okay,
feel
here
that they
it is.
need a higher concentration of oxygen, so you open your mouth to bring in more oxygen to assist your muscles.
That's weird because my muscles get a lot of oxygen.
Okay.
So-
Well, I'm very tired, and so I've been
Okay.
yawning a few times. But it's a sleep deprivation Monday big time.
I'm used to you yawning when I talk.
More so
that's-
than last
that's not-
Monday.
That's not different for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have a lot to get to today, besides just the Colts. We'll talk plenty more about the Colts, but also college football, plenty to talk about.
Yep.
We
Everybody
have-
won, so that's nice.
That is good.
Mm-hmm.
We have, of course, all of our features to get to, right?
We do.
Okay.
And more
including
things.
our
and
first
stuff.
feature we're going to do next.
No, we're going to do that in the third segment. I gave you the whole list, Jake. You've got it right there in front of you. You saw it, right?
Got it right here.
WGU Indiana Sage Move of the Week is segment 3. Do we need to go through it again during the commercial break? Because we can.
But that's our second feature.
Second feature.
Is the Sage Move of the Week. You're burying the first feature.
No, first feature is the third segment.
We're talking first feature.
IMCU Player of the Week. It's third
Okay.
segment.
That is correct.
We shouldn't do this while we're taping because people are like, "What?" People on the podcast have already skipped ahead. What is this?
I don't know. I'm still thinking. I'm
Okay,
on a
well, I
flight,
gave you the
so-
whole sheet. What does your sheet say?
I didn't write. You didn't give
Yes,
me
you
anything.
did. You wrote. Why'd you write on the folder?
I just took a couple notes. Colts, college,
That's my folder.
quick hits.
ISC only gives me one, so now you've graffitied it.
Features, and then I can't read this down at the bottom. Oh, Byder Bullschultz.
Yeah, that's always what we end with.
Yeah,
So at
okay.
least you get that right.
Okay.
Get one thing right on this.
But I'm
show.
pretty sure it says here the Indiana Members Credit Union Player of the Game,
Yeah.
segment 2. It says tease right here. Tease,
All right, fine.
Tease that, yeah.
We'll do that next.
Yeah,
But
see?
also,
So when we
get
come
into
back,
college football.
Indiana Members Credit Union, we will let you know who we have selected as our player of the game. Not always easy to do in a Colts loss, but there was one that we picked yesterday. And we will let you know who that is next. I'm Brian Schultz. See how easy that was?
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride ourselves on our 5-star customer service. But at our core, we're a family. Family owned, and family to our customers, staff, and our community. From charity events to recognizing hometown heroes, we prioritize giving back to our communities that have always supported our growth. So let us help you get your dream home today.
Shot at the buzzer. She got it! Oh my goodness, what a shot!
Brady, hello! Did it again. Hello! Made the highlight reel again.
That goes to
Whoa,
Venture and all
touchdown.
kinds of room to run. Down the middle of the field, and he will not be touched. Jackson, hello! There we go.
Stokes throws it, caught, ball ricochets.
Wow.
A huge hit.
Wow.
This has been an amazing display of goal scoring.
welcome back to Corey and Schultz, a sleep deprivation Monday.
Oh, is it ever, buddy?
On the show. Actually, I'm fully rested.
flip-flop good.
I had a great weekend.
First time I've sat without and actually been able to like stretch my legs a little bit.
Air travel's easy for me. My mother-in-law was in town, big Sox fan, and the Yankees swept them away this weekend. Took a 1-game lead in the wild card, pretty sweet. Stan hit 2 bombs, hit a huge grand slam Saturday night, and then another one over the fence went yatso.
What does the Yankees fella say when Stan hits a home run?
Oh, I don't know. John Sterling? I don't actually know what his catchphrase is for that, yeah. But he still does the Yankees win. He still does that. He's an American sports icon, Jake, so I don't know how much.
What about
go down
it's
there.
an A-bomb for A-Rod?
Yeah, great call. One of the great calls. Right up there with Do You Believe in Miracles? Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Probably second to that.
Yeah.
1B to that being 1A.
Okay. What about yes? Wouldn't that be your
Don't you dare come after Marv.
Marv Albert?
Don't you dare.
Okay.
Don't you dare. I will flip this table right over.
Did you know
Actually,
that
I think this is logged into the ground. I'm not
Marv Albert is the only sports broadcaster to be given a pink slip just for wearing one?
Look, what he did was probably regrettable, and I don't want to actually talk about that. I'm choosing to focus on Marv Albert, the broadcaster.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kind of like how nobody focuses on how you treat me. Instead, it's, let's put Jake Ware in our Hall of Fame and give him a bunch of awards and have him be our pitch man and whatever else.
Okay.
IMCU brings you our player of the week. We usually focus on the Colts.
Indiana Members Credit Union player.
That's right. Indiana Members Credit Union, a full-service financial institution offering free checking accounts with e-statements, low auto rates, and more. See what IMCU can do for you at imcu.com. Membership savings required, federally insured NCUA. I'm going to pick somebody that has been picked on a lot in his Colts career, and I think that he's actually played pretty well so far. And I tried to point it out on Twitter yesterday, and people made fun of me. And yeah, I thought you guys are jerks.
But I thought you were,
well.
yeah.
Rock Ya-Sin, I thought had a big strip after that ridiculous special teams mistake that the Colts made to extend that Titans drive, and it looked like Tennessee was going to march down and score a touchdown and land the KO blow. So Ya-Sin gave them some more life, and if I'm not mistaken, they took that possession and went down and kicked a field goal right after that. I'm trying to remember all the sequences from yesterday, but I think that he has performed admirably. Look, he's not an all-pro. He's not a pro bowler. I just hope that Rock Ya-Sin can eventually be the Colts' third best corner.
Yeah,
and I think he's been more than that this year.
I mean, look, Kenny Moore obviously has been, there are some
even
issues,
though he's struggled.
There are some issues in the defensive backfield, right?
And Xavier Rhodes isn't healthy. I mean, he looked awful yesterday.
Yeah, and I mean, penalties there and just, but yeah, you've got to get some stability there. Mm. And Rock Ya-Sin is a guy that's, he's been around a while. He was a high pick. The time is now, right?
Yeah, for sure. So I wanted to give Rock some love because we've been picking on him a lot. I made some comment a couple of months ago. He got burned in a preseason game, and I said, leaves changing, pumpkin spice lattes, and Rock Ya-Sin getting burned. The rites of passage for fall.
That was, in my childhood, the two Colts DBs that were always picked on in that regard were Eugene Daniel and Nesby Glasgow.
Yeah.
Everybody picked on those guys. Oh, they're toast.
Daniel played forever, though.
He did.
No one has ever liked the Colts corners. I remember even when they had Nick Harper.
Corners just kind of one of those positions.
Jason David.
Yeah.
Remember? And people would pick on them a lot.
I think corner is just one of those thankless positions, right?
It's like offensive line. You're only noticed when you do something horribly wrong.
Deion Sanders is probably the greatest corner ever, and yet people still critique the fact that Deion Sanders never tackled anybody.
Yeah.
Of course, he didn't have to because nobody threw anywhere near him.
I mean, he was unbelievable, yeah. I mean, who would even be this may be recency bias just from his high level of play, and I know his exit was not here, but was kind of unceremonious there in Buffalo. Is Vontae Davis the best Colts corner?
Ray Buchanan?
Yeah.
Ashley Ambrose?
He was their best. I mean, how was Buchanan as a cover guy? Because he was a great playmaker.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably
Was he also a great cover? And he played forever and made Pro Bowls.
Ashley Ambrose was pretty good.
Okay.
But he had his best years in Cincinnati.
Because a lot of those guys under Dungy were system guys, where the system made it so you could plug anybody there in corner. Because remember, Jason David went to New Orleans and he was terrible.
Correct.
Nick Harper kind of washed out pretty quickly after that.
I did like Nick.
Kelvin Hayden was a good, solid corner.
Player, yeah.
And he was a Dungy guy.
Purdue and Indiana both getting wins in college football over the course of the weekend. We'll start with Indiana. Look, that's kind of a no-win situation for Indiana.
Yeah, they got to stop doing that.
Doing what?
There is absolutely no reason. There is nothing to be gained from Indiana playing a road game against a Group of 5 school. None. Don't ever do that again. If Indiana's listening, don't ever do that again with your schedule.
You sound like a snob when you say that.
No, it's the truth. No one else would do that. Clemson would never, and I'm not saying it's Clemson, but there's no Power 5 team worth its salt would go and do that.
Okay.
Should never happen.
But Michael Penix starting to right the ship a little bit.
Yeah, he looked better. That's not saying much, but yeah, he had a nice game. Indiana still looks like they're in trouble, Jake. They got to go at Happy Valley, which looks like a game they have.
So Indiana right now stands.
Not much of a chance of winning.
What is their record right now?
They are 2-2.
So they're going to Happy Valley. That puts them at 2-3.
Yep.
I think they might win there.
You're crazy. You're crazy. Yeah, no chance. No chance they win there.
Okay.
If they're within 2 touchdowns, it's a win.
There are no moral victories here, Derek. This is
okay. Well, I'm just letting you know. There's no chance.
LEO does not include moral victories.
There's 0 chance that Indiana goes to Happy Valley and wins.
Okay,
0.
so then who's after Penn State?
Michigan State and then Ohio State at home.
They could win.
Or maybe it's Ohio State and then Michigan State at home.
They could win 2 of those 3 games.
Because they beat Western Kentucky by a deuce?
I'm just telling you.
What makes you say that?
It's going to take Michael Penix playing like Michael Penix of last year, but they could do it.
If they win 1 of those 3,
you're probably
that'll be actually a win.
I thought you got to give Purdue credit because Purdue went against a team in Illinois that is, who knows what Illinois is. But games like that, Derek, and even when you're down, when injuries have you out, and David Bell's not on the field, and some of your best weapons, they're not pretty. But you go into a game like that, and you've got to get a win, come hell or high water, and Purdue did that.
Just win. Just get to 6. I'm not worried about style points for Purdue. That would have been a disastrous loss because if you get paid like Jeff Brom gets paid, you can't lose to Illinois at home in year 5.
I was yawning there, and they came back.
You can't lose to Illinois in year 5. So they avoided disaster. But that game always has a face that only a mother could love. You know what I mean? Like Purdue and Illinois is always just an ugly slop fest.
And then Purdue and Minnesota is always like 55 to 53.
I know, yeah, it's crazy. There's a lot of fireworks and usually a bad call at the very end of the game that cost Purdue. But they just had to survive. Illinois was one of those that you circle as a must-win, and they got the win. So that's all that I'm focused on. I'm not – I think I said on Twitter, let's just never talk about that game again. Let's never talk about it again.
Take the win and get home,
It almost became the Rutger game from 5 years ago, I think it was 2017, where you just kind of harp on it forever. You can't have it. So Purdue survived, and Indiana survived too. Look, I don't want to bury Indiana, but I think with what we've seen from the first 4 games, there's some serious apprehension that this is going to be the season that some people thought it was going to be.
Is Georgia the best team in the country?
It's Alabama. Alabama just deserves infinite benefit of the doubt. I think the real question is, Jake, are the 4 best teams in the country right now all SEC teams?
Yes.
Because
there's only one.
Are there 4 better teams than Alabama, than Georgia, than Arkansas, and then Florida with how they've played so far? I don't think so. Yeah, but Ohio State is showing some real warts.
They are.
They eventually got it together again. I think they were playing Akron over the weekend, but that was a close game.
They did not look great against Tulsa, no doubt. Yeah. Oklahoma?
They struggled again.
And
West Virginia's fine. West Virginia's not a bad team by any means, but that's not a good team, or a great team, I should say.
And then Clemson,
they're out.
Oh, yeah.
They
may have 2 more losses left in them.
Yeah, maybe we shouldn't even be talking playoff, but they can't. We talked about this with the schedule. Wake and BC right now are the 2 best teams in the ACC.
Right.
That's not enough. And they play both of those teams. That's not enough to get you to where you need to be.
Notre Dame is in a really good spot. Who's going to be
Cincinnati is good. Cincinnati is – the good thing for Notre Dame is that the schedule that I said was tough has completely crumbled in front of them. USC gave up.
The way it always happens.
USC gave up like 500 points. This
always happens with Notre Dame's schedule.
Well, it's because USC. It's not their fault that USC stinks.
I know, but every year, and before Notre Dame, people jump all over me. Every year, seemingly, the narrative at the beginning of the year is Notre Dame's got the toughest schedule in the country.
They had 4 preseason top 20 teams on it. You thought it was going to be a good schedule.
But this happens every year.
North Carolina is always a fraud.
and they're terrible.
We always do this with North Carolina, and then they burst the bubble immediately. And Wisconsin's quarterback, I mean, Graham Mertz had one of the worst quarterbacking
horrible.
games that I have ever seen before. He actually threw for like 200 yards and a touchdown, and I'm like, his stat line doesn't.
He was like 12 of 35 or something, wasn't he?
But his stat line doesn't even indicate how bad he was.
Right.
He was terrible. And Notre Dame still has a talent advantage over Wisconsin.
We did see, Derek, you were involved in this conversation on Twitter with someone from Notre Dame that said, but the thing you got to understand is Notre Dame takes everybody's best shot and gets everybody's best game. Do you think Ohio State doesn't?
Yeah, or Oklahoma or
Clemson?
Bama.
I mean, do you think that –
Georgia.
Are we really under the understanding that Maryland prepares the same way for Minnesota that they do for Ohio State?
Well, yeah, I mean, the Pac-12 stinks, but of course you're going to get up for Oregon at home,
right?
More so than you're going to get up for Utah.
How about Oregon State, by the way? I almost went to the Oregon State-USC game Saturday night.
USC, Jake.
Should have gone.
USC and Texas are two programs that have no excuse not to be double-digit win programs every year.
Totally agree.
And it sucks because as much as I hate USC, night games, LA Coliseum, when they were right, it was one of the toughest places to play in the country. It was electric. It wasn't even half full.
Yeah.
I mean, and in LA, people are pretty apathetic to begin with. But if you're no good if you're not worth their time in LA, they ain't going. It's not Lincoln, Nebraska. I've got 800 other things to do. You know, in Lincoln, it's like, okay, did I shuck the corn? Yes. Okay, now I can go to the football game. In LA, it's not like that.
I don't think they shuck corn in Lincoln. It's a city.
Sorry, is that stereotypical? Because people say that about Indiana, and I get all defensive about it.
Yeah, where the cornfield was
I'm sure Lincoln, Nebraska. I actually hear it's actually a pretty nice college town.
Can you name all the state capitals named for a president?
I can barely name any state. Hartford, Indianapolis.
Hartford's not named for a U.S. president. Neither's Indianapolis.
Springfield. Tallahassee.
Named for a U.S. president.
Sacramento. Isn't there like Armadillo or Amarillo?
Give me the state. Give me the state.
Is it named Armadillo in Texas or Amarillo? Is that the capital?
No, it's Austin.
Austin's the capital of Texas?
Of course.
Okay.
Give me a state. This is a skill I have. Name any state.
Michigan.
Lansing.
That's not named after a president.
I know, but I'm saying I can name the capitals like that. I don't even have to think about it. I have no sleep right now. I don't even have to think about it.
Providence, Rhode Island?
That is correct.
Okay.
Give me another state.
Bangor, Maine?
No.
What's Maine's? Oh, is it not Alberta?
Think Masters.
Augusta, Maine.
Correct.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I knew it was an A.
Okay.
Alberta's Canada.
Yeah, that's close.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Alberta's a province
in
Canada
that's
like 600 miles north of Montana.
I'm sorry, man. I'm a sports expert. I'm not as well versed on some of these other like geopolitical
New Hampshire?
issues. New Hampshire is
grape jelly. Grape jelly.
Shh, quiet. Manchester.
Sean Kemp's high school.
Keene.
Vermont.
Loudon. Burlington.
No. Nope.
It's not Burlington?
Nope.
I don't know. Windsor, that's where my wife's from.
Montpelier, Vermont.
Okay, yeah, I've never been there.
Concord, New Hampshire.
Concord, yes, that was the other one
Washington.
That I knew. Washington, D.C. is actually its own capital.
No,
it's not a state.
The state of Washington.
Mount Helena.
No, that's a great guess. No.
Seattle.
No.
Tacoma.
No.
Spokane.
No. Think beer. Think beer. I have a T-shirt with this beer on it.
Eugene? No, that's Oregon. Eugene's Oregon.
No, Oregon is Salem.
Salem?
Yes.
That's the witch trials.
No, that's
Massachusetts. That's
no, that's Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Salem is Oregon. Olympia is Washington.
Okay. Olympia? That doesn't even sound right. That's a city? I've never even heard of that. Olympia?
Do we have quick hits
like after the Olympics?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
No, I'm seriously, I've never heard. I've never been to the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah,
but
I don't know if you know this, but when
time.
they discovered the Pacific Northwest, there were a bunch of naked guys throwing around javelins right there in Washington. Yeah, and then.
Or is it a soft O?
There were, I don't know.
Well,
all I know is they were naked. I
weird.
didn't get that specific on it, but they were doing the javelin, and then so that's Olympia now.
Okay. Yeah. No, I didn't know that. Olympia, Washington. Yeah. Wow. That's weird. We have a Wawasee in Indiana.
It's Wawasee.
Yeah, Wawasee.
No, it's Wawasee.
You have to separate it out.
No, you don't. You just Wawasee.
I've lived in the state for 20 years. I have a pretty good handle on Rusheville and things like that.
Moscow?
That's in Russia.
No, it's near Rusheville, actually.
There's a Moscow, Indiana?
It's Moscow.
I've never heard of that one.
Okay.
I've heard of Santa Claus, Indiana.
There is that, too.
All right, let's move on.
Okay. Thank you.
What are we doing?
Santa Claus, by the
show,
way,
right?
borders Kentucky. Capital of Kentucky is?
Lexington.
No.
Louisville.
No.
Frankfurt.
That is correct. Frankfurt is correct.
Is that really right?
Cool little town.
Yeah, okay.
Quick hits to get to next?
Yep, Alex Palou, new IndyCar champion. We'll talk about that. Quick hits and more features when we return. And no more state capitals. Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network. Do not touch me.
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
Meet Kate. She has a lot to juggle. Family, work, it can lead to trying days and tired nights. But we know Kate, and at Indiana Members Credit Union, we know at some point her space at a premium life may change. IMCU is here to help Kate and you find your space. Now, add on or remodel with an introductory rate of 1.9% APR on a home equity line of credit. Today, it's all about Kate. Tomorrow, it's all about you. Because at IMCU, it's you that matters.
McCulling in time. Oh, no! It's good.
This one is caught.
There you go.
Wow, Dawson makes a great catch.
Spin, win, 3, bury it for Leland Walker.
Tie the game they do with the dunk by Malik Edmonds. What a play.
Oh, my goodness.
I feel a little momentum starting to fall Ellen's way.
That is Wrestler! Wrestler! Whoa!
Welcome back to the incredibly creatively and appropriately named and not always easy to say it as such Query and Schultz program here on ISC Sports Network. Would love to thank WGU for their sponsorship, as always, for our Sage Move of the Week. WGU is Indiana's largest online accredited university. So perhaps if you are thinking about going back to school to learn a little bit about geography and you are stunned over simple things like the fact that Olympia is the state capital of Washington. What's that? It's not a shot at all. Not a shot at all. WGU, Indiana. WGU, the largest online accredited university. When you're talking about the fact that you want to go back maybe and complete a degree, or you're just starting out because you want a career change, or college is just something that you have always wanted to be able to check off that list of your goals in life. WGU allows you to work on your schedule, your time, and ambition never rests. That's why WGU is an outstanding option. WGU.edu/Indiana to find out more about WGU and our friend Sage, who is always looking on as wisdom. See, Derek comes.
He's very wise, yes.
He is very wise.
Yes.
Yes. Our Sage Move of the Week.
How about Aaron Rodgers last night?
Impressive.
Not near where you were, but at least in the same state. Green Bay was in San Francisco, and the Niners scored a touchdown and went up 1 with 37 seconds left. And you're thinking to yourself, well, the Packers have no timeouts, but it's Aaron bleeping Rodgers. And he makes a play because that's what Aaron Rodgers does, a perfect pass over the outstretched hands of a defender and sets up the game-winning field goal. And you're just kind of reminded, Jake, and actually, not to turn everything into the Colts, got kind of depressed about it because I'm about to go to bed last night and Rodgers does this great thing, and I think to myself, man, I miss when the Colts could do that routinely.
You know, it goes back to something I've mentioned before, and I can't remember – it's one of the great epiphanies that I've ever had, one of the great insights that's ever been shared to me. And I can never remember who it was that said it to me, but I was talking about Joe Montana being that way in Super Bowls, or an Aaron Rodgers or a Peyton Manning late in games making plays, right? And I remember saying, like, I always wondered why a Michael Jordan, if he can hit every shot in the fourth quarter, like, why doesn't he do that the entire game? And they said, and I can't remember who it was that I was talking to. It might have been Joe Theismann that said this to me. said, you don't understand. It's not that those players elevate their game. It's that they are so calm and composed that when the nerves kick in, everyone else dips, and they do not. And so they rise to the top. And Aaron Rodgers last night did that.
And just from an ability standpoint, I mean, he can do things that other people can't do. But it's interesting because it looks like this is going to be his last year in Green Bay, and where he goes from here, I'm not sure. And what the final chapters are for Aaron Rodgers, I don't know. But it's a guy that is going to be an interesting evaluation because he's been so good for so long, and he's arguably been the best quarterback in the league for 10-plus years. Yet he's only played in one Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And they won.
And he won, yeah.
But it's actually kind of amazing. And it just shows how abnormal – if you compare everybody's team success to what Tom Brady did, it's not – it's incomparable. It's never going to happen again. It's an outlier. And I hope that people remember that. Like Drew Brees is had this amazing career, right? He played in one Super Bowl. Peyton Manning played in 4.
Correct.
But ended up winning 2. But still, even 4 Super Bowls is pretty incredible. Brady's played in 10, and he's won 7. It's insane to me. It's just insane that Aaron Rodgers could play at this level for this long, and Green Bay wouldn't, accidentally find themselves in another Super Bowl. They seem to lose in the NFC Championship game every year.
They do. Did you watch Alex Palou win the NTT IndyCar Series title?
Do you want me to be honest with you?
You listened to it on the radio, didn't you?
Do you want me to be honest with you?
Yeah,
I asked.
yeah.
No, I did not.
Tough to go up against the NFL.
I think I was going to flip over.
Tough to go up against the NFL.
When Pato got punted lap 1, I was like, there's no incentive for me to turn in.
That's fair.
Tune in right now.
Basically what happened was Pato O'Ward, Alex Palou, Joseph Newgarden were the 3 drivers in contention for the IndyCar Series championship. And then Pato O'Ward, the second-year driver out of Barcelona, Spain, you see him pictured right here. With Pato O'Ward, he knew that, okay, all he had to do
24th?
Essentially was finish 24th. Yeah. And then, there was enough attrition, too, that he was going to finish 24th no matter what.
Yeah, everyone crashed out.
After a while,
and clinched it while the race was going on.
So he clinched it early on. But bright talent and a young guy, very likable personality. Not a lot of people know about Alex Palou. So we'll see what this does in terms of him building his name as a driver.
I think we talked to him once or twice. He seemed like a nice guy.
Real cool guy.
But, Palou, I know, yeah. But the guy that I'm about to mention, I'm kind of hopeful isn't in IndyCar anymore and probably won't be. But these incidents with O'Ward and Ed Jones always seems to be involved. And I'm kind of like, okay, I'm ready to not have Ed Jones involved anymore. Am I wrong about that? I mean,
Ed Jones actually had a very good second half of the season, but I think you're correct in the fact that we will not see Ed Jones next year.
Come on, man. It's lap 1, and he's a contender. I'm not asking them to hit the brakes every time you come up on those 3 guys.
I don't think it's malicious by Ed Jones, but yes.
I don't think it's malicious either, but it's overly aggressive to the point that it's reckless.
Right.
And you can't in this sport. In NASCAR, you can be reckless all you want.
That's fair.
In this sport, you can't.
Can you name the 4 cars coming at you right there?
I don't know. Rossi's in the back, right?
No.
Is that blue and yellow?
No.
I don't know any of the paint schemes.
That is Palou, Power, Jack Harvey, Colton Herta.
Okay. You do this for a living, so I just want to point that out. So, of course, you know. You probably know what they had for breakfast in California. You probably had breakfast with them at the hotel.
No, I didn't have breakfast.
Dealio. So
it's hard. Going out for 2 days, the time change, because you kind of naturally wake up at 7 a.m. But it's 4 a.m. out there, and it's just weird.
Yeah, I can understand why it would really suck getting to travel around the country for free and go to a state like California in late September and call sports for a living. Well, I can kind of understand there's a lot of drawbacks.
I'm very lucky, and I enjoy it very much, and I'm very privileged to do it. Coming back on a red eye's tough.
I hear you.
As is evidence.
And I appreciate you being here. Like I said, my bar for you is, did Jake show up today? And you have consistently showed up. So I do appreciate that.
Am I reliable? If nothing else, am I reliable?
Oh, I wouldn't go that far. That's a little bit of a stretch. But you did show up. I can rely on you to show up.
I'm not Carson Wentz?
Let's do a couple of quick hits.
Okay.
Still not sponsored, which is crazy because my phone's ringing off the hook.
It's the wild, Derek, you need to say. It is now time for quick hits, the wildly popular and shockingly unsponsored segment of the show.
Bankers Life Fieldhouse will now become Gainbridge Fieldhouse.
Gamebridge, the sponsor of Colton Herta's car that won yesterday in Long Beach.
No details on the financials of the deal, but apparently the $2 million a year that Bankers Life was paying was among the lowest naming rights deals in the entire NBA. And as we know, they've been looking for somebody to do this for years, so I can't imagine that there was much of that. It was a seller's market.
Since Gamebridge is the title sponsor, it goes without saying, and it's obvious, right, that the walk bridge from the parking garage to the field house that crosses over Delaware has to now have the Gamebridge logo.
Which will be the Gain Bridge. Yes, that's what they're going to call it. The Gainbridge Bridge.
That should be called the Game Bridge.
The Gainbridge Bridge.
The Game, G-A-M-E, the Game Bridge.
No, you don't want to.
To Gamebridge.
You don't want to hurt your name.
Okay.
I know
so the
that.
Game Bridge.
I know you want to do that. That's why I demanded the show have Schultz being involved with that. Speaking of, the Pacers had their media day today.
Yep.
Feeling really good about the season. Everybody's in the best shape of their life. Going to be interesting this year. Going to be a special group. I have no idea if they said any of that. I'm just assuming because that's what every media day ever is.
But the big question mark for the Pacers still is, when is T.J. Warren going to be available to play?
Yeah.
And who gets the minutes from Edmund Sumner?
I'm just so, I can't help it. I have a lot of friends in the organization. It's a great organization, right? They've always been cool with us. I love even the people, like the ancillary people around it, like Mark Boyle and Chris Denari and JJ and Pat Boylan and everybody else.
I'm going to let Boyle know that you said he's ancillary.
No, I meant but he's not.
I
guess he is directly an employee of the Pacers. He just doesn't.
No, I know.
He's not like a rah-rah guy. That said, ESPN did a list of the top 100 players in the NBA, and the Pacers had 4, and they were all between 40 and 80.
Let me guess the 4.
Okay.
Sabonis.
Yeah, it's the 4 starters outside of Warner.
Turner.
Yeah.
Brogdon.
Yep. Just acquired him last year.
Not Warren?
In the Oladipo trade. LeVert.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, should know that. I mean, I'm glad you knew the paint scheme of Jack Harvey's car in IndyCar, but
switching teams.
Yeah, you probably need to know Karis LeVert as well.
Of course I know Karis LeVert.
Okay. Well,
Michigan fella, right?
Saying. Oh, okay. You know these IndyCars up here?
I'm just saying.
You call me on the carpet.
Then
again, you have no sleep.
I haven't slept since Saturday morning.
My point is, between 40 and 80 it's a perfect example of where the Pacers are, where in a league where you need A and A-plus players to really matter, the Pacers have a bunch of just good to pretty good players.
You're right.
All those guys are good. None of them are great.
They're playing Monopoly, and they've got a bunch of the orange and red properties.
Oh, the oranges and reds are actually killer, so I disagree. You would have a bunch of the light blues and purples.
I think the light blues are more than the
Oriental
orange.
And Connecticut and Vermont. You don't want any of those. Orange St. James Place, they've done studies on this, is the most landed on spot on the Monopoly board. So I always tried to control the oranges, and then if you got by that,
what about the greens?
I still want to stab you in the eye with the reds. So Kentucky, Illinois, Indiana. Also in chance, there is a card that takes you to Illinois Avenue. So you can automatically land on my properties there.
Okay, no, wait a minute.
I think it's in Illinois. It might be Indiana.
The green properties are the second biggest, right?
No, the green properties. Have you ever played Monopoly before? The green properties are completely overpriced.
Derek.
And no one ever lands on them. You blow right through there, or you land in jail. The green properties stink.
But you want to buy the green properties.
No, you don't. I mean, you want to buy everything that you land on so you can trade and wheel and deal and all of that, but the green properties actually are very, very overpriced.
But if you land on them, the rent is outrageous. It can break you.
Jake, the green properties are like the Whole Foods of the board. You go in there and the food tastes pretty good, but my God, I can get the same stuff at
the greens
at the really nice Kroger's.
Isn't Pennsylvania green?
Yeah. North Carolina.
Yeah.
And there's one other on there. Pacific, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty nice.
I mean, we could play Monopoly sometime, but I dunk all over you. I feel really bad.
What are the El
about
Cheapos?
Your chances?
Baltic?
Yeah.
And Mediterranean?
Yeah.
What
are
color
bad.
are they?
And the light blues. Purple. Light purple.
Okay. At any rate.
Yeah. Actually, those are dark purple.
I think
light purple would be
Sabonis is a
Virginia
green property.
States. No, because his contract's actually really manageable.
Okay.
He's probably more of the yellow. The Pacers have a bunch of Marvin Gardens.
That's fair.
And Ventnor Avenue. That's
Marvin
essentially
Gardens is
where
cool.
they are.
What about the utilities?
And you want to...
When you were a kid and played it?
My God.
Did anybody ever ask you if you had BO Railroad?
The effing utilities, man. The utilities are borderline worthless.
I don't. Are they? What about
the railroads are nice, especially if you own all four, because then it's $200 every time you land on them.
Were you the BO Railroad? Was that you?
No, I actually smell great.
Okay.
I smell great. I have a natural musk. That's very good.
If you think so.
Yeah, no, this is weird. I
so.
can't believe you're so off on this Monopoly discussion. It's weird.
Well, it's been a while, Derek. I mean,
I guess so. I thought it was common knowledge.
I played with the little race car. I know that much.
Yeah.
And then there was a dog.
Yep. I was always a thimble.
Shoe. Why were you the thimble?
No one ever assumes the thimble.
Is there an iron, too?
Yeah, there is. But, like, why would you assume a thimble? You think of it. He chose the thimble, right? All right. Got hotels on the oranges and reds. Go ahead and roll. You're on States Ave. You get 5, 7, 9, 10, or 11. You're in my pocket. I own you.
Okay. Okay.
That's usually how it went.
Did you ever actually play a game of Monopoly long enough to
I've never
declare a winner?
lost. I'm undefeated all time in Monopoly.
I will beat you in Monopoly.
Because I just have an analytic – I mean, people know on the show that I'm very intelligent, but I have an analytic brain, so I'm able to just kind of survey the board and see where people are. And, yes, people say it's a game of chance, but also it's a game of skill. And I'm very skilled.
Well, Sorry. You ever play Sorry?
Yeah, I am. Sorry got too violent. Well, because I had two sisters that were my same age, and you knock pieces off the board, so my parents had to take away Sorry because there were too many fistfights that came from that.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
What else do we have to get to here?
We have more features to get to, including our Love That Play. Actually, were we going to do Love That Play now?
Yeah, we'll do Love
That
Play
Let's
right
do Love
now.
That Play right now.
Love That Play, by the way, is brought to you by the good guys at Love Heating and Air Conditioning. Right now is the perfect time to make sure that your furnace is up and running before the weather turns. Love-HVAC.com. That's love-HVAC.com. Family-owned business, been around serving Central Indiana for over now 100 years because they began in 1920. Quality of product, great product, and customer service dedication. That's what you get from Love Heating and Air Conditioning.
Justin Tucker just kaboomed a game-winning kick.
Unbelievable.
Apparently after what should have been a delay of game call, which only happens to the Lions, right? Of course, it's the poor Lions. Set a new NFL record, 66 yards to win the game. Not a tie game, so if you miss that kick, you lose. To win the game against the Lions, he's a 6-time All-Pro. He's the most accurate kicker in NFL history. By just about any measure outside of Super Bowl rings, Justin Tucker is the greatest kicker to ever kick.
So Justin Tucker, in one swoop of the leg, moved the ball further than the entire Chicago Bears yesterday, right?
I think they did. I think they had 63 total yards.
Right.
Did you see the Bears drive chart?
No.
It's like the most depressing thing in the world. One of the only times they gained yards was they had a one-play drive for 4 yards before halftime.
And
it was like one of the only positive ones.
If I'm not mistaken, the Bears yesterday averaged like 1.2 yards per play, and it's the lowest average in 100
it was
since Love Heating and Air Conditioning.
It was an historically, and they got outgained 400 and something to whatever it was, 63. I mean, it was Justin Fields. It was just brutal. It was awful. You know, that's another team that you worry that the Colts. Remember the first year, Pace and Nagy, and you thought, oh my, these are the guys, and then it's never gotten better. And obviously the Bears look like they're in worse shape than where the Colts have been. Colts have had a little bit more success, but you wonder how long those guys.
The fun thing about the 66-yard field goal, doink,
yeah,
and then in,
yeah,
hit the crossbar, bounced,
but he's that good.
Bounced on the right
he planned
side.
it. It's like impressive. Me with Monopoly, just sees it, just see it, and then it happens. Okay. See hotels here.
Vital Bull Schultz next?
Yep, let's do that.
Okay.
It's Corey and Schultz. We continue here on ISC Sports Network. Stick around.
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride ourselves on our 5-star customer service. But at our core, we're a family. Family owned, and family to our customers, staff, and our community. From charity events to recognizing hometown heroes, We prioritize giving back to our communities that have always supported our growth. So let us help you get your dream home today.
Meet Kate. She has a lot to juggle. Family, work, it can lead to trying days and tired nights. But we know Kate, and at Indiana Members Credit Union, we know at some point her space at a premium life may change. IMCU is here to help Kate and you find your space. Now, add on or remodel with an introductory rate of 1.9% APR on a home equity line of credit. Today, it's all about Kate. Tomorrow, it's all about you. Because at IMCU, it's you that matters.
Rolling right along here on a Sleep Deprivation Monday. It's Corey and Schultz.
Derek, I have a question for you.
Joining us?
Sleep deprivation, by the way.
Sure.
Let me just give you my schedule. So when our flights for Long Beach were booked, the nonstop flight from L.A. to Indianapolis had been removed because of COVID. It was added back on, as an option after our flights had been booked. So I didn't have a nonstop last night. So after the race in Long Beach, we went to the airport, got on a plane, flew from L.A. to Charlotte, very convenient. 2-hour layover in Charlotte. From Charlotte to Indy, I landed, got in the car, drove here to do the taping. So I literally have not slept since I woke up Sunday morning, I guess, technically.
Okay.
Even with that, I was able to realize that on our quick hits, you were in such a hurry to talk about Bailey and Wood, understandably so, right? Understandably so. You wanted to talk about our friends Bailey and Wood with mortgage in a snap, but you forgot the fact that we still
did forget a couple of quick hits, so we'll get to that right after we talk about Bailey and
Steel
Wood.
Trap up here.
BAWFG.com, 855-350-HOME. Please don't talk over me. We've talked about this.
What's the telephone number again?
Yeah. I'm about to get into the whole thing, Jake. I never interrupt you. Like when you're talking about WGU Indiana or whatever
People
else.
at home want to know the phone number.
Love heating and cooling. I never inject myself into that.
Do you know why Tom Carnegie?
It ruins my train of thought.
Tom Carnegie, when he was the PA announcer at the Speedway, he would repeat things, and people thought it was, Sneva, Tom Sneva, turn number 1, Texaco, Tom Sneva, and he kept saying it over and over because he realized that people might miss it or the cars are going past and they couldn't hear it. So pertinent information you have to repeat. It's what made Carnegie so fabulous.
Okay.
So the phone number, for example, if you wanted to repeat the phone number,
you're not
it would be
Tom
what?
Carnegie in this situation, are you? Because
I'm
that's
Carnegie.
like comparing Jacob Eason to Peyton Manning.
What's the phone number again for
855-350-HOME, HOME, and BAWFG.com.
No, here's how you should say it, Derek. Bailey and Wood, home mortgage, if you're wanting to keep it right here locally in terms of getting your mortgage in a snap with the best rates that are low right now, 888, was it?
I just said it.
But you got to say it slowly. 888-350-HOME. That's 888-350-HOME, home for Bailey and Wood. See, now, and we talked to the folks too. They liked the fact that my voice, number one, and then just the delivery that I'm giving for them.
Mike barely knows you. Me and him have been friends for years and years.
Do you know what he said?
What?
He said that he was glad that he had a long-standing friendship with you because it was an easier way for him to meet me.
Okay, I don't think that Mike said that. I'll text him to make sure. He was actually speaking of Mike, went down to see a shutout loss, which sucked last week. I think it was Buffalo in Miami. Went out to Vegas and saw a great – they still lost, but saw a great game.
I mean, he's a Dolphins fan,
yeah,
right?
we knocked Jacoby Brissett, but Brissett completed a 4th and 20, had a touchdown run.
Correct.
Had a couple of heroic plays.
Jacoby Brissett is a nice, competent backup quarterback.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I have nothing against him.
Not a
He's
guy
a great
that
dude.
you have as your backup quarterback on the roster that gets pushed over for a practice squad player when you actually might need a backup quarterback.
I really like Jacoby Brissett.
Very strange.
I'm rooting for him to do well down there.
Do I look washed out? I think I look washed out. Is it because of the playing time?
But Mike was there to with a couple of buddies to see what ended up being a great game. It's just unfortunate the Dolphins couldn't ultimately pull that one out.
The last of our quick hits,
Yeah, so let's get to those final two here. Baseball-wise, the Cardinals, I've lost count. I think they've won 16 straight.
Derek, I had asked a buddy of mine who's a Cardinals fan. I said, hey, we should get together and have a beer and watch the baseball playoffs. And he goes, yeah, it'd be a lot more fun if the Cardinals were involved. This was like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's wild.
And then, boom, here they are. This is what they do, though, right? I mean, they just hang around. The Cardinals are to Major League Baseball's postseason like the people that when you have a party and you've gotten the vacuum cleaner out and everybody else has figured out it's time to go home,
leave.
That one person won't go away.
Yeah. Indians had, and Rake, I bet Rakestraw's going to know, the Indians in 2018 had, I think, a 23-game winning streak.
I remember that.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, that broke the modern era record, which was like the A's, I think, had like a 21 or 22-game win streak. But still, 16, you think about all those great Cardinals teams. In their history, they've never won 16 games in a row. So, and
it's vaulted them right. I mean, and that's how far back they were, right?
Yeah. So it's 22 for the Indians. Okay.
No, to watch them get into the wild card play-in game and lose.
Oh, it means nothing. The Indians won 22 straight games and then were eliminated by the Yankees in the divisional series.
Yeah.
After they blew a 2-0 lead. Yankees won 3 straight and knocked them out. There are all kinds of examples, and we can do this in the NFL too. How you're playing entering the playoffs is virtually irrelevant. It's the postseason. It's brand new. I mean, you even mentioned
World Series, Derek?
With Montana and all that.
Giants, White Sox.
I'm not sure about the White Sox. White Sox have basically been a 500 team for like 3 months.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I think you
got to be in the postseason is one game over 500.
I think the Astros are really good. Again, the Rays are really good, and that's become like a really good organization, which is weird because they don't spend any money, and you're like, how are they doing this?
In front of 12,000 home fans.
Yeah, Giants completely out of nowhere have won they're going to win like 105 games, completely out of nowhere.
They're really good.
So it's weird. I just hope the Yankees. I hope the Yankees make it, and I hope that they knock out the Red Sox because I feel like that's the only saving grace for this season because I don't think either of those teams are going anywhere.
Okay.
Even though it'd be nice. It'd be nice if the Yankees played in like the NL East because then they'd be winning that division by like 30 games right now. They're in the best division in baseball, so it's tough.
Okay.
Yeah, you got 4 teams that are 20-plus games over 500 right now. The only thing holding them back are Jordan's Orioles.
Did you watch the documentary on the 86 Mets?
No. I want to. Yeah.
Good team. Bader Bull Schultz next?
Yeah, let's do it. We'll wrap up with a little
Can you tell that I get tired when I start look at that form, though.
Okay. Don't break anything. Because remember when we had the Frisbee in here from our friends at the Indy Alley-Cats, and you actually broke some equipment.
I did not.
Which I get billed for, too, because this is viewed as a show share. So anything that they incur cost-wise, even if it's Jake's fault, it technically it gets billed to Query and Schultz. Which, unfortunately, I have 50% ownership of.
Okay.
So we'll wrap up Eider Bull Bleep next on Query and Schultz.
There we go.
Equal partnership, ISC Sports Network.
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride ourselves on our 5-star customer service. But at our core, we're a family. Family owned, and family to our customers, staff, and our community. From charity events to recognizing hometown heroes, we prioritize giving back to our communities that have always supported our growth. So let us help you get your dream home today.
Shot at the buzzer. She got it! Oh my goodness, what a shot!
Hello! Did it again. Hello! Made the highlight reel again.
That goes to Mentor and all kinds of room to run. Down the middle of the field, and he will not be touched. Jackson, hello! There we go.
Stokes throws it, caught, ball ricochets.
Wow.
A huge hit.
Wow.
This has been an amazing display of goal scoring.
Back for a final time here on Query and Schultz, ISC Sports Network. This final portion of the show brought to you by our friends at Chateau Kitchens. Chateau Kitchens. www.chateaukitchens.com. On Instagram at Chateau Kitchens.
Fabulous work.
Facebook at Chateau Kitchens. Any home remodeling, anything inside the house. I know it says kitchens in their name, but kitchens, bathrooms, basements. You want to knock a wall down, give our friends at Chateau Kitchens a call or go see their showroom on
Kramer was going to
Main Street.
Jerry had mentioned knocking the wall down between he and Kramer's place and making it one big apartment. And Kramer said, these are load-bearing walls.
You did that in Bloomington, didn't you? At Jackson Heights, knocked down a couple of walls?
We did. We knocked down a wall, and then we put in some Greg Brady love beads, and we turned 2 apartments into one big condo.
Okay, well, I don't know if Steven and his crew are going to put any love beads into your house, but hey.
Well, and they probably wouldn't do it
The customer is always right, I guess. We're actually going in there to their showroom on Wednesday to look at their renderings for our guest bathroom.
Oh, nice.
So I'm pretty excited about it. Megan is the designer. And she's been really helpful so far.
So if I'm at your home, it's the bathroom I'll use as the guest.
You are not allowed actually in.
Oh,
we have a nice screened-in porch.
The dog loves me, though.
Yeah, Ollie does like you, which is weird because he hates everybody.
It's a dog whisperer. I'm a dog whisperer, Derek.
It's very annoying.
Dogs love
He doesn't even bark when you come in. He barks at everybody. He barks at everything.
Yeah, with me.
Barks at me sometimes when I come in.
With me, he's just like, what's up?
But Chateau Kitchens does a great job for all of that. Kitchen cabinetry.
Are you getting
everything?
What was that?
Sorry,
noise?
my computer's making noise.
What was that?
So please enlist the help
alert?
of Chateau Kitchens if you've got a home.
Something you need to know about? Is it the home camera?
No, it's fine. Do you actually want me to read the text out loud?
Yeah,
I will.
Yeah,
goes to my phone too.
Okay.
Let's see. It's from Nate Miller.
Okay. Our friend Nate Miller, Roy Hobson, right?
Oh, I can't repeat that on there.
Okay. Yeah. Nate Miller, by the way, played college basketball at Stetson. Just in. Luke Brown, the fine basketball player from Blackford High School, who had originally gone to Stetson, has now announced he is transferring to Ball State University.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Yes. I did not see. When did that happen? I didn't see that. Sorry, I didn't keep up with Stetson transfer news.
It's not. It's.
But
Ball
when did
State
that happen?
News.
That's great,
Derek. Just trust. I mean, do you ever just stop and thank yourself that you have this kind of resource to work with?
No, I mean, it really is. It is a huge advantage for me to have a co-host who knows Jack Harvey's paint scheme and who's transferring from Stetson. So thank you. I mean, that is an asset.
Jack Harvey's
for the
transferring
show.
from that team, though.
Okay,
just
well,
so you know.
A lot of people are going to be doing some transferring when it comes to IndyCar.
Okay, buy it or Bull Schultz. Derek makes a statement, then we say whether we buy it or we think that it is indeed Bull Schultz.
And it's brought to you by our friends at the Shop Indy, theshopindy.com. Clay Terrace and the Strip in Broad Ripple for their two brick-and-mortar locations. We got the Jackson Anthrop. We've got the Drew Plitt, the Kenny Moore.
918
TJD. Got Eric Hunter.
Clay Terrace.
All of that. David Bell.
TheShopIndy.com.
Really, really cool stuff. They have a new Johnny Appleseed shirt.
Great stuff.
Who's apparently from Indiana.
I think he came through Indiana. Yep.
So like Lincoln.
Fort Wayne area.
So like Lincoln?
Fort Wayne. He might have been born near Fort Wayne.
I'm surprised we don't have signs up on the interstate.
Johnny
Appleseed lived here once. Welcome to Indiana.
Played against Rod Woodson, sectionals.
Abraham Lincoln is a great American hero, right, and figure, but I've just always kind of been embarrassed.
But you know what? I don't disagree with you,
Abraham Lincoln's boyhood home, that's the best we can do.
But here's the thing. He spent I didn't realize, like, Abe Lincoln did. I mean, he moved here like at 8 and moved away at like 21.
If you asked anyone outside of Indiana,
no, I get
the
it.
most relevant states in Abe Lincoln's life, it's definitely, at best, it's second. It's probably third.
It is perceived as that for sure. But that's pretty significant that he went. I mean, basically, he went to high school in Indiana. You know what I mean? I mean, it's pretty.
Hell, put me on the sign then. I wasn't born here, but Derek Schultz lived here. AM radio co-host.
Okay.
I think it would attract a lot of visitors. If Visit Indy's wide, I just saw Chris Gall the other night. If he's watching, I'll do that.
He's got good hair.
I have a small licensing fee to use my name. The Colts will not have a winning record this year. Buy it or bull it.
No, that's 100% Bull Schultz. They will have a winning record.
You're that sure?
Yep.
I think it's really hard to find 9 victories.
Okay.
I think it's really hard.
They'll be fine.
I'm going to buy it.
Okay.
And it sounds like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth.
I'm not as down on them.
I still feel like the season can be salvageable, but I think I told a bunch of people this in the offseason, and people were like, well, of course you're saying it now. I thought that there was a non-zero chance that this season was going to be a complete catastrophe. But in fairness, I thought a lot of that was going to be COVID related, and so far, outside of the camp stuff, COVID hasn't really reared its ugly head. But Jake, honestly, since July 31st, it's been all bad, right? I mean, we've had 2 months of just bad for the Colts. Everything that's happened to them has been negative. And
the kicker that looks like you got married.
Yeah, Rodrigo. Yeah, we're slated to possibly have him on the show, do an in-person interview.
Really?
With our friends at American Dairy Association, Indiana. Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, it'd be a lot of fun. I don't want to promise that, but we could. We have that in the works at the very least.
I don't know which one I'm talking
Statement
to.
2. Purdue has a better chance of bowl eligibility than Indiana does.
I buy that.
Buy that. 3-1, so they got a 1-game lead.
Schedule's more favorable. Could come down to the bucket game, Derek.
Why don't we just do it out here?
Okay.
Purdue football schedule.
Okay.
And let's just go wins and losses here. Okay. And just do it because I'm actually genuinely interested to see.
So they're 3-1. Give me the game and I'll tell you win or loss.
Minnesota at home.
Win.
Minnesota's not very good right now.
Yep.
At Iowa.
Loss.
Wisconsin.
Loss.
Home. At Nebraska. Ooh.
I'm going to give that as a loss.
That's a tough one. Michigan State at home.
I'll give that to them. Say win.
In Columbus.
Loss.
Against Ohio State. Northwestern at home. Indiana at home. I mean, I looking at this.
At that one, Derek, they are at 6-4 heading into the bucket.
Looking at this, I think you could say with confidence that Purdue can finish 3-5. Yeah. Don't you think with those 8 games? I don't think that's a stretch at all.
That puts them at 500.
So essentially, they would need 3 wins out of Minnesota, Northwestern, Indiana, all at home, at Nebraska. I think they can win 3 out of those 4.
Did you see what their band did with the
They never beat Wisconsin.
Did you see what the band did with the world's largest drum?
Yeah, I liked it.
It was pretty cool. They formed like a drum on the field at Notre Dame and then marched like
that was interesting. I did see that last month.
It was cool.
When that happened. Yes. Indiana, let's go through them.
Okay.
At Penn State.
Indiana's currently what?
2-2. At Penn State.
Okay.
What's your response to that?
Loss.
Yeah, okay. Because you said you think that they could win that game.
I'll put them down for a loss.
Yeah, okay. 0 chance they win that game. Michigan State at home.
They'll win.
What do you have against Michigan State? They're ranked 17th in the country.
No, I know.
You've got Purdue and Indiana beating them?
I think both Purdue and Indiana have good teams.
Ohio State at home.
Loss.
At Maryland.
I'll say Indiana loses that game.
Yeah, I think they lose that game too. At Michigan, who's now find themselves in this. That's another team.
Michigan, I'll say they win.
We've done this before, though, with Michigan. Michigan goes undefeated every September. And you say, oh, is this the year that Harbaugh turns around and then they get in the nitty-gritty and they
Michigan's
stink.
like Green Day. Wake me up with that when September is.
Rutgers, home.
They'll win that.
Minnesota, home.
They'll win that.
At Purdue.
That would have them at 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 5 heading into the bucket.
I mean, essentially, you need to find 4 wins out of Maryland, Rutgers, Minnesota, Purdue, Michigan State.
You could do that easily.
Because I don't think there's a snowball's chance in hell they win in Happy Valley or in Ann Arbor or beat Ohio State at home. I don't think you could say easily. You'd have to go 4-1 in those games. So Indiana's problem is that their margin for error is 0.
The phrase snowball's chance in hell never made sense to me because it's you are assuming that a snowball would immediately melt in hell.
Yeah, of course.
It would never even form.
But if you threw it into hell, if you portaled it to hell, which is how one gets to hell, I believe, then it would melt right away.
Derek, we have some talking we need to do about what it is that gets someone to hell. It's not a portal.
They just send you there is what I mean. So you just
it's not a transfer portal.
Like St. Pete is just all right, man.
I guess you can make the transfer portal request.
It's like what I've always pictured it as. It's like the male sucker shoot thing, where you just and you just go, but you go down instead of up into the tubes. So the tube takes you down.
Okay.
From the clouds to Hades.
You know, this all happens on Judgment Day after everyone is judged.
Yeah.
Okay. What else?
Which I will pass.
You're going to pass on the judgment?
Yeah. I don't have like my heaven LinkedIn page, but I was vice president of my youth group for a couple of years.
So you mean you will pass, like as in pass fail?
I'm just a good dude. People like me.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's more to it than that.
Not really. I mean, I have an uncle on Facebook that kind of lists all the things. And I think to myself, I can do all that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. This was a weird show today. I feel like
is that same uncle, by the way? What happens if to pass, you have to be vaccinated. What happens to the uncle then?
That's a problem because he always thought that was government mind control.
That's right.
He's not on this site anymore. His account just disappeared one day, so I'm not sure what
that's called
he's doing now.
Suspended.
Mm-hmm.
Next week, what do we have?
Next week we will recap another Colts loss. What else do we have going on?
Probably the next time I'll be awake.
I am hopeful that they beat Miami because
I think they will beat Miami.
If they don't, then that's really all she wrote. If they can't beat Miami in a must-win situation, they're in real trouble. Indiana and Purdue and more Big Ten play. Notre Dame's got this game against Cincinnati that we'll recap. It'll be another really interesting college football weekend. And finally, IndyCar's over, so you'll be on full rest.
That's right.
Query and Schultz,
rested and ready.
ISC Sports Network. Check us out on Twitter as well, @JQuery, @Schultz975, and our website, queryandschultz.com.
I've had a surge of bots lately.
Yeah, me too. But that's okay. I just climb that Fowler toll. That's all that I'm worried about. We'll see you next time on the show.